Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I was looking for fun ways to tell you that Mint's offer of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month is back. So I thought it would be fun if we made $15 bills. But it turns out that's very illegal. So there goes my big idea for the commercial. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
A lot of information regarding training and nutrition is confusing to begin with. No one has landed on necessarily best practice. High intensity interval training. Okay, but now we have LIT. No, wait, we want higher volume, lower intensity. We need to be lifting weights. Is walking good? What's zone 2? It's confusing as is. And then you basically add another twist, which is, okay, well, now you're in menopause. So all of that stuff that you thought you knew is different.
Have you found yourself thinking a lot about menopause? I mean, it's everywhere on the internet, which leaves me and probably a lot of people in their late 30s thinking, shoot, am I going to be okay? Is there anything I can do to make menopause better for myself, like now? The obvious question is, what can we do before menopause to help with the symptoms and the severity of those symptoms during the menopause transition? Welcome back to the show. I'm Meredith Root, and I'm turning 37 soon, which has me asking myself a lot of these questions too. So in today's episode, Alex and I are going to talk about our experience, our fears, and what we're planning to do and focus on as we near this time in our lives. We also spend a bit of time discussing the difficulty of discussing menopause in the current landscape of marketing and predatory consumerism that is driving a lot of the discourse online. Okay, I have a question.
Shoot.
It's deep, so prepare yourself.
Okay.
What is your favorite free t-shirt that you've ever gotten at like a race or event?
Okay, you needed to prepare me in advance for this question.
No. It's better that it's spur of the moment.
I don't even know. I guess currently there's a white one that I like. It's the Elk Valley Ultra one.
From 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one's nice, but it's white. And so it's not like, one I'm just going to throw on without a bra. Like, white t-shirts have a thing about them.
They do.
So I usually go for like a darker color. In that case, I have one, and it's a Coors Light t-shirt.
Oh my gosh.
But I didn't get that. It was my sister's.
Okay.
She got it from a beer box.
Yeah, it
because
looks
my
like
dad is a big Coors Light guy.
something that came in a beer box.
And
wait, that shirt came in a beer box?
I'm pretty sure. Like, it is old.
But how did did they just guess on the size?
I think you just got free Coors Light t-shirts. Back in the day, people used to be more generous, brands and stuff.
Was it like a mail? Okay, because back in the day, you could like mail in your box tops from cereal to get free stuff as a kid. That was a thing. Do you think it was like that for adults, but for like beer t-shirt? Was it like mail in some part of your beer box?
I don't think anyone would have done that.
I know. So I'm so baffled.
I'm Googling it.
Never seen a t-shirt come out of a beer box before.
Okay, let's see. Yes, here we go. AI. Yes, some beer companies like Coors Light have offered t-shirts as a promotional item inside beer cases, particularly in the early 2000s, which is how old this t-shirt is.
There you go.
So I would have to say that. There's a texture to it.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's Coors Light, it reminds me of my dad because he drinks Coors Light every day.
Yeah.
And always has.
Gross.
So it's probably my favorite, I would say. It's the longest lasting one that I've had.
Even longer than the cat with the sunglasses? Although I guess that wasn't a free one.
Same. I stole that one from my sister.
Mm-hmm.
She was into oversized tees before oversized tees were cool.
Ah.
Or cool again.
Yeah, they came back around.
Yeah. But yeah, that's all that's really coming to mind.
Okay.
What about you?
For the record, I like the Black Spur Ultra shirt that you have.
Oh, the
Also.
green one.
The green one.
Yeah, I like that one as well.
Yeah.
That one wasn't I almost didn't get that one because originally they gave me a toque.
Oh, right.
And I'm like, I don't want a Black Spur Ultra toque.
I want a t-shirt.
I want a t-shirt. So there was an exchange process.
Yeah.
Worth it.
Worth it. What about me?
Yeah, which is your favorite free t-shirt? It's hard because and I'm not bragging, but like we get a lot of free stuff.
Uh-huh.
So most of my t-shirts are free.
Do you remember the t-shirt that you got when you did the CrossFit Level 1 certification way back? It had like, I can't even remember what it was. It was like a size. You remember because CrossFit, a lot of the t-shirts were like asymmetrically printed.
Yeah.
So it was like off center in this like big long list of things.
Yeah. That's your favorite?
I know, but I did covet that t-shirt for a long time. I don't know why.
You were such a nerd.
I know. I can't remember what was on that stupid thing. I think it was like, oh yeah, I found it. So okay, it's like left aligned on the left side of the shirt, or maybe right aligned on the right side of the shirt. Actually, I think that's it. It says constantly varied, high intensity functional movement CrossFit, and you got it at the Level 1. Anyways, no, that's not my favorite one. I think my favorite one might be the Unbound one I got this year.
Yeah, you wear those Unbound ones a lot. I like the one you're wearing right now.
This is a Fernie Gravel Grind.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, the Unbound one, it's different because I got a free one last year when I did the 100, and then I bought one, and then I got a free one this year. But at the 200, when you finish the 200, you get a different T-shirt than if you finish the 100,
right?
And it's like nicer.
Yeah, they really make it known.
Yeah, and as someone who prints T-shirts and makes decisions on what to print on, I'm like, ooh, they went with the like suede. It's thicker. It's quite nice. So probably that one.
Worth it for the extra 100 miles.
Definitely. Time well spent.
Most t-shirts I get from races, they have to be under the radar a little bit. If they're too much, I can't wear them. Even the Boston running long sleeve, I won't wear it because it's so blue and it's so obviously Boston.
Yeah.
That I'm like a little self-conscious of wearing it.
There's like there's two kinds of people. There's people who love that and they want the Uber branded bright blue. Give me the Boston logo with the unicorn. Yeah. I want to wear that out. And then there's people.
And then they buy everything else associated with Boston, which like no judgment.
No, yeah.
Just saying.
And then there's people like you they prefer something a bit. You're like, if they made the Boston long sleeve in black with like shiny black printed on it, you would buy it.
Oh, 100%.
The black on black.
Yeah. I did buy a purple Boston one. That one I like.
Yeah.
And then they also gave me one at the 70.3 that's a little too green for me.
Yeah.
And it's a little too obviously like Iron Man branded.
Yeah. So. I think when something's a really big deal to someone, it's, I think, understandable. You want the stuff that goes with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not to say, I think Boston was a big deal for you, but for like the way that you experience it is different.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm explaining that well, but
I'm just not like a big t-shirt person. Like, for example, I never really ever wore my CrossFit Games t-shirts outside of when I was competing at the CrossFit Games.
Are you about the jerseys? Oh yeah.
I just like the demo team ones here and there I would wear, but the actual jerseys,
it feels like wearing your medal around.
It kind of feels like wearing a soccer jersey out in public.
Yeah.
It's like, no, that's for games only.
Or like wearing your soccer jersey to practice.
Yeah.
Your game jersey to practice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was back when they were like the games jerseys were like really cool too.
Yeah. I think we still have a couple somewhere.
I'm sure they're in a box.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the games apparel situation is going downhill.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess that's just sort of CrossFit in a nutshell, going downhill.
Okay, but we're talking about something completely unrelated.
Oh, yeah.
It was your birthday.
I mean, it's weird to say that it was your birthday because I'm sitting here and it isn't my birthday yet.
I know, because we filmed 2 weeks in advance.
Record, but
Yeah. So, how was your birthday?
I guess I'll just manifest that it was awesome.
Did you get a lot of
I got a lot
presents?
of presents. I got everything that I wished for and asked for. All of my friends came.
People
Lots of
flew out from all around the
surprises.
country.
Just, Rue got me something super nice, handmade.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it was great.
I'm glad you had a good
Thank
time.
you. So much spaghetti.
I'm glad you had a great day.
Yeah.
How was the cake that I baked you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't know where you pulled that out of because, like, you are not a baker, but what you came up with something like it was layered, multiple tiers. I didn't know that you did such a good ganache and, like,
If you can believe it, that was my first cake that I've ever baked.
Very impressive, Alex.
Yeah.
Very impressive. I think you have a new career path if you want it.
Did you like the design that I did on top?
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to keep paisley symmetrical by hand. So, like, I truly like a savant with cakes. So impressed.
I didn't know I had it in me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
So I'm glad it was a good day. It's always important to make those days extra special.
I think so. Yeah, paisley 8-layer cake really did it. Aging. Yesterday we were sitting outside and you said something. What did you say about my face? You were like, looking at me and you said something like, "I really like how your face is aging."
No, I think I said it in a nicer way. I said you're becoming womanly. But like in a good way, like in a hot way.
Mm.
And then you and I were thinking the same thing, which is like, of course you think of womanly Kate, you think of Kate Blanchett.
Yeah. She is the standard. So
Yeah.
think I
So of
said
course
so.
you're like, that's who I look like now. And I'm like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
obviously.
Yeah. I was like, okay, we can do that. I do notice when I look in the mirror sometimes, aside from just looking a little bit tired, not from aging, but just like we're busy in the summer and active. Yeah, my face is changing. She's getting older, especially when I look back. Even the videos like back in 2021, we started doing that content. I go to like, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna dig way back and repost one. I'm like, oh my god, who is that?
I know.
I mean,
know.
it's fine. I don't feel
Because
any kind of way
you
about
don't
it.
notice it on a day to day.
Mhm.
You're like, oh, I look the same. My hair's just different.
You ever
But
see
then you
those?
see a photo and
Yeah.
you're like, whoa, what?
Have you ever seen those YouTube videos of people who take like a picture a day for 20 years or something? And it just shows the aging process.
Yeah.
They always make me kind of emotional, but I haven't been doing that. So I can't compare except for, the occasional side by side.
And all the photos all the selfies.
I do have a lot of selfies.
Yeah.
I'm the selfie taker in our relationship. But yeah, Kate Blanchett, great compliment. I did say it sort of creates the illusion that I have my shit together when I don't.
Mm-hmm.
Feeling that this year. I don't know, more than last year.
But I think you do have your shit together. I think it's fun though when you're growing up and you're in your 30s and you're still learning new things about yourself
Mm-hmm.
and having to adapt and go down different paths and that sort of thing. And then on top of that, you're with somebody else who's also learning things about themselves. And so you have to not only adapt to things you're learning about yourself, but what you're learning about the other person and what they're learning about themselves. Keeps things exciting.
Are you excited most days?
No.
Has this been
tired.
Exciting process
but
for you?
It's I think if we didn't have that, I would be bored.
Yeah, I guess. I think you get a unique perspective on yourself when you don't have kids.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause you don't have the distraction of caring for another human that's super needy. So you just kind of like are with yourself and observing a lot of thoughts and things. So that's kind of which is cool in a way. Sometimes I'm like, man, it would be nice to have a bit of distraction going, but our relationship is our child.
Or our business.
Yeah, or that. Yeah, so we kind of were thinking about what to talk about besides how amazing I am because it's my birthday and I should be celebrated. Uh, but how can we tie it into a topic that might be meaningful for someone? So I'm turning 37, which is it's weird to say that. It feels both like old, but also still very young.
Right?
It's weird, right?
It does.
Mm-hmm.
37 is that number.
Yeah. So we were talking to Sam Valentine and trying to come up with some ideas. And we've been thinking about doing a menopause podcast through our lens, not like providing information or, this is what the science says or this, but thinking about it from like, where are we at with it? How are we preparing for it? How does it make us feel? And so it seemed like a birthday episode was a nice sort of way to sidestep into that topic. The reason why we haven't done it yet is the space has been a little weird, like the menopause space specifically. And it feels like as people who are sort of adjacent to it, like we aren't and don't hold ourselves out as menopause experts or, menopause trainers, menopause nutritionists. Like we aren't niche, we aren't in that niche, but we do serve that population and a lot of people who are going through the menopause transition. And then we also know a lot of people who are in that space, like Jen Gunter, Amanda Thebe, Celine Yeager. Like we have a lot of overlap, even though we don't do like specific work. And it seems like maybe like a year and a half or 2 years ago, there was a lot of discovery happening and a lot of sharing and a lot of really good information being put out on the internet, which was great because information really matters and it helps empower decision making. It helps people feel confident that they are in control of some things. And it was like overall a really helpful time, I think, for like menopause information. And over the last
Well, I think,
definitely
just to interject, I think it also was a time when a lot of women were struggling through it on their own
Mhm.
in isolation. And so just talking about experience helped women at that age in that transition not feel so alone. And then also on top of that, gather some knowledge and information on how to manage it and if there were avenues that they could pursue. But before it was just this like suffering in silence type of thing.
Well, it's not like a moment in time. That's been the
Oh, yeah,
moment
I
in
know.
time.
But up until a couple years ago, it seems like that was kind of the turning point of like, hey, let's just talk about it.
Yeah. I mean, and it's not even just menopause. It's anything really, women's health that people experience has been kind of on the like hush hush. And
I mean, think about miscarriage.
yeah, I mean,
Miscarriages. Like those are people are like, don't tell anybody. I'm ashamed. I'm embarrassed.
mhm.
And it's so sad. Of course, like I haven't ever experienced anything like that, but it is hard when it isn't talked about and women have to suffer by themselves
Yeah.
when it's extremely common.
Yep. I mean, when even like getting, girls getting their periods, like it wasn't uncommon for there really to be no discussion about that. It just happened and then it was like, "Oh, okay, well welcome to womanhood. Here's, some pads, whatever."
Yeah. I mean, even getting your period now, it's like, well, you gotta hide the tampon to go to the bathroom.
I still make a point if I have to carry a tampon, I just like carry it.
Oh, you do.
Mhm.
You're there.
Yeah.
I like that.
Mhm. Look, like I only have so many periods left in my life. Like I have to take advantage of each and every one of them to like,
Do you like hold it out kind of like a torch?
I put it in my mouth like a cigarette.
Yeah.
Open. I unwrap it like at the table or wherever I am and click it out and put it in
Yeah.
my mouth.
And you go, okay, I'm ready to go. I'll be right back.
Yeah. Yeah. Um
I'm gonna start carrying it like a torch.
yeah.
Clear the way.
Anyone else need to go with? Let's go. Yeah, so okay, to go back.
Okay.
A couple years ago, the conversation really did start online, and it was spearheaded by a number of people. Stacey Sims is really involved in this in a way that's been super helpful, which is just talking about it. Um, and getting people talking about it and highlighting the issues in women's research, not even just related to menopause, but sports specific training. Look at research related to pharmaceutical products and cardiovascular disease. Like a lot of that research just hasn't included women, and that's a huge problem. And so there are these people who, over the last 15 years have been kind of working in the space, and it got to the point where, okay, collectively we're talking about this, and that's really good. Over the last year, like 6 months to a year, it's like the discussion and the sharing has become noisier and noisier, with kind of everyone who can contribute to it contributing to it. But it's gone from we want to share information and empower women to we want to sell women solutions. Like it feels almost like it's gone backwards in a way, which is not like this is what menopause is. This is the experience. This is how you move through it. This is how you select a doctor who can help you with menopause hormone therapy and really operate in the science. To some of these same people that were contributing in positive ways to the conversation a couple years ago are now selling programs. They're now selling solutions. They're now selling supplements. Like it's gone back to, your body and menopause is a problem, but don't worry, I have a solution. And so it's frustrating and it makes it really difficult to contribute to the conversation or have a conversation without feeling like, we're taking advantage of women in the same way that people selling programs are, because that's what it is. It's like because there's so much conversation going on and so much attention in the menopause space, it's a perfect marketing opportunity. And people just start to see dollar signs, even people who were really well intentioned at the beginning. And so what I don't want to do is fall into that. Even if we remain well intentioned. Like we were thinking about basically writing an ebook with training and nutrition best practices for women, or people going through some part of the menopause transition. And we got into that project and I was like, no, like I don't even want to do something so narrow, because I know even though this will be very good information, like I'm taking advantage of the fact that like the Google search uh statistics are through the roof on menopause. I don't know. I just feel icky about it. So that's been our reluctance in having these conversations. And then on our end, because we do serve that population of people, there has been more and more, do you work with women in menopause? I'm in menopause. Is this good for me? And there's so much conflicting information about the type of training that you should be doing, nutrition, protein, fasted, not fasted, sleep, all of this stuff that we've gone back to just being really confusing, I think. So,
Yeah, I mean, the way that I see it is a lot of information regarding training and nutrition is confusing to begin with,
yeah.
and still is. No one has landed on necessarily best practice. I mean, you can listen to a podcast that says high intensity interval training. Okay, well, now we have low intensity interval training. Okay, high intensity interval training is good for people with menopause, low volume, high intensity. No, wait, we want higher volume, lower intensity. Wait, we need to be lifting weights. Is walking good? What's zone 2? It's confusing. It's confusing as is.
Yeah.
And then you basically add another twist, which is, okay, well, now you're in menopause. So all of that stuff that you thought you knew, if you even knew it,
Yep.
is different. When really it's not. It's all the same, just jumble of information.
Right.
And the answer depends. It depends on the person. It depends on your goals. It depends on how you feel. It depends on what you have access to. It depends on what you like. There is no one answer.
Right.
You can look at the research that's peer reviewed and solid and backed up, and you can have one piece that says this is really good and you have another piece that says this is really good.
Yeah.
It's really confusing, and it's going to be confusing regardless. So to me, it's what you said. It's preying on people. It's like, are you confused? Do you have menopause?
Yeah.
I have you the answer.
I mean, that's, the way that, internet gurus have existed for a long time, whether it's, preying on people in menopause, preying on the biohacking space is it relies on some level of confusion to exist. That has to be the baseline in order for someone to sweep in and say, like, don't worry, I have a really simple solution that will solve all of those problems. You just have to do my program and like don't look around at other things.
But that exact thing contributes to the confusion.
Exactly.
This one simple blanket answer to suffering from the symptoms of menopause is all you need.
Yeah.
But wait. Okay. But wait, this person over there is saying that exact same thing, but promoting something completely different.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the whole conversation right now on cortisol. Like that's kind of the hot word in menopause, and it's people are trying to come up with ways to battle, morning cortisol when that's a totally normal biological thing that happens. Like your cortisol should be high in the morning. That's the point. Fasting doesn't do anything to help it. So just like live your life, have a meal, do a workout, whatever, it will come down. We did that whole episode on cortisol way back if you want to understand that a bit more. But yeah, I mean, you have to, I think there's a lot of research being done right now on a lot of different things, nutrition, fitness, strength building in older populations of people who have some sort of like hormonal chaos going on. And the reality is it's very hard to design a single study that can answer the question, what is best? That's not the right question from a scientific standpoint to be asking. So these studies have to look at very specific things and understand if there's an effect, like a positive effect, a negative effect, a null effect. And then within research studies, even if the research shows a positive effect, you then have to look at how well was the study itself designed and controlled, because not every study that ends up getting published and peer reviewed is even really like a particularly robust study. And a lot of them often, if you look at single studies and you actually read them, what goes into the abstract is not necessarily indicative of what's in the study. And then they almost all conclude with like more research is required before drawing conclusions. And it's rare to see studies repeated. Like we already know that. So when you're looking at the body of research, it's really more impactful to look at meta-analyses and systemic reviews and literature reviews that look at the data, the body of research that has been done, and includes studies that are similar enough and asking similar enough questions that then we can start to draw some conclusions. But unfortunately, when you have people who are looking at research and they're trying to confirm a bias, or they're trying to create a narrative to validate the way that they think things should be done, they aren't looking at the meta-analyses. They're looking at the single studies and they're like, well, this shows a positive effect, therefore, like, this is the best option. And it isn't the best option. And often it's overcomplicated to a point that it makes it very hard to adhere to. It may make someone feel worse. But it's just a person who says they're evidence-based, they may be looking at science, but it is often not the whole picture. Yeah. So anyways, I don't remember where we were going with that.
I think it's just to say that that's the kind of the environment that we're in,
right,
as women. And even for us who aren't in the transition phase yet, we are approaching it.
Yeah.
And we had a conversation a couple New Year's ago with some friends who are approaching it as well. And a couple of them are like, I'm really scared. Like, I am an active person, and like all I'm hearing is how brutal it is.
Yeah.
And all of these things, and even HRT, it's like the amount of, it's not just, easy to just go on HRT and it all be better.
I think it's actually called MHT.
Yep. And so I don't know. I mean, we're thinking about it. And there's me, and I'll just speak freely. We work with a lot of people, and I like to think of myself as different from them because I am someone who doesn't have kids, trains a lot, more than most people, and has like a training history that is extensive. So it's not like I'm just all of a sudden training 5 days a week, 2 times a day. I've been doing that for so much of my life. And I have a job that is manageable from a scheduling standpoint and a volume standpoint. So I'm telling myself, when I hear these, frankly, horror stories, or I'm on Instagram and I'm just seeing, like, this, that, like all of these symptoms that you experience. Well, the reason why you're gaining belly fat, or the reason why you can't output in workouts, or the reason why you're not sleeping is menopause. And then we have women coming in and saying, well, all of these problems are occurring now that have never occurred before. I'm doing all of the same thing and nothing's working. And I believe them. But at the same time, I'm like, well, I'm different. Because if I think about that, I also get really scared. Part of me is thinking, oh, it won't be like that for me. But then I'm like, what if it is? What could, and then it begs the question, like, what am I doing things now that will set me up for success in the future?
Yeah.
Like, practically, not just hoping that it sets me up for success. It's a scary time.
Yeah.
And it is confusing even for people who know.
Have a higher level of knowledge. Yeah. Yeah. I go back to a couple of things, but when I first had this conversation with Celine on her podcast a few years ago, she asked me, like, what are your hopes for when you go through the menopause transition? Like, what do you hope for yourself? And my answer to that question was, I hope that I'm informed. Like, I hope that I have more information. And I do, and that information is coming, and there's power in knowledge. And I think also, because the more you know, and the more you're aware of what the science says, yeah, what the collective experience is, but let's look at the actual data associated with people's, like, not necessarily the how to avoid symptoms, but what leads to people experiencing more severe symptoms. And so that then allows me to understand what's in my control and what isn't. And then there is research behind that. So I was trying to understand, some different angles to look at menopause. And there's this cross-sectional study, and it's observational. So you have to sort of take it with a grain of salt, but it's, it's survey-based and it's high quality. But it essentially looked at the impact of having information versus not having information on how someone experiences that time in their life. And so what it basically says is, like, on the whole, many people don't feel prepared for the menopause transition, which is not surprising, because how would we be prepared? It's never really been talked about. People tend to experience some level of weight gain and physical emotional symptoms during the menopause transition, which we know. Most people do have an interest in a program, whether it's nutrition or fitness or lifestyle, to help manage and minimize those symptoms. And there's an overall, like, tends to be a desire for weight loss and maintenance. Like, that's the number one sort of concern, whether someone has experienced weight gain or not. And basically, the conclusion that it comes to is having an understanding, like having more information, reduces anxiety. It reduces symptoms that women experience. And if you can involve, people who are experiencing the menopause transition in the design and decision-making part of the intervention, that tends to impact their lives in a positive way too. Meaning, like, this is to think about behavior change. This is self-determination theory. So allowing women to take part in it, to retain some autonomy, and basically build confidence that they have what they need to make decisions for themselves on a medical level, on a personal level, on a fitness and health level. So I think that's where my desire for information comes from, is because I know that, and I experience that in other ways. And then the other thing that I tend to trust is, like, I heard this line that it was talking about anxiety, like, generally. And this woman was telling this story about how her mom, is like 20 years ago, her mom was in the hospital, she had cancer, and like she wasn't doing well. She was in the hospital for a month, and every single day the doctors would say to her, basically like she's not going to make it. And she would come back the next morning, and like, her mom would survive the night. And she basically went like reached out to a friend or someone and was like, how do I deal with this anxiety? Like it's crippling me, and I don't know what I would do without my mom if she dies. And the response that she got was, when that happens, whether it's like soon or in the future, like the the version of you that will deal with that will be born that day. Basically saying like, you'll be capable of moving through it when it's time to move through it. And her mom ended up surviving, not something like she's still alive today. But she said that changed the way that I thought about anxiety related to future events that haven't even happened yet.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, like the mantra is like, I trust that future me will be able to solve future problems.
Yeah, that's good. I do wonder how many people suffer from certain symptoms as a result of the anxiety of the impending like typical symptoms.
Yeah.
For example, sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Because we know sleep is it can be a bit of a vicious cycle in terms of like stress and anxiety around it. Like if you don't sleep, you feel more anxious.
Yeah.
So then you feel more anxious about not sleeping, which causes you to not sleep. So I wonder if, worrying about your sleep causes you to not sleep almost maybe more than it just being a symptom by itself.
Yeah. But that's like, how do you decouple something like that though? Because
I think, maybe information.
sleep anxiety, I think maybe understanding like sleep anxiety is a thing all by itself.
Yeah.
Like I get that
Mhm.
now, and I have for a long time, where if I don't sleep well, I can get anxious to the point where I just like, I have multiple days of not sleeping well. Like
Mhm.
that's a pattern that I can get into, and I know many other people as well. So it's like, how do you can't say with certainty that, it's definitely the hormonal changes contributing to sleep, maybe to some degree, but it could also just be that anxiety of like, oh my gosh, it's happening. I'm not going to sleep. Things are going to be really bad,
Yeah.
where maybe not. And maybe there's lifestyle things that you can look at that would help.
Yeah, it was a bit of a eye opener. I was at a wedding for my cousin and I was talking to one of my aunts who told me that she has never once, like barely even for a night, had an issue with sleep.
Yeah.
Sleeps like a rock, and
Mhm.
she's 70. And I told her, I'm like, do you have any idea how like rare that is? She was like, yeah, I've heard a lot of people struggle with sleep, but it's like she almost didn't know
Yeah.
that sleeping was rare, like not sleeping was common.
Hmm.
And that's not to take away from the fact that it actually is something that is disrupted
Yeah.
through different phases of life, stress, reds, menopause, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But it kind of made me think, whoa, so like it's not necessarily victim mentality. It's not necessarily just going to happen to you
Mhm.
because you're entering that phase of life.
Yeah.
It could, but it might not. And there are also, even if it does, there are ways to mitigate the severity of it.
Right. And I kind of hang on to the fact that based on a lot of the research, there's a solid around 15% of people who go through the menopause transition and experience no side effects at all.
Where are those people?
Yeah.
I want to hear those people on a podcast.
Yeah, right.
Give me some hope.
Yeah, for sure. And so I do think that that's the downside of the negative side of the coin with sharing, is that it can create a lot of fear.
Mhm.
And that fear, especially related to the future, can increase anxiety, and anxiety tends to amplify symptoms related to anything,
Yeah.
not just menopause transition.
It's like a balance between like sharing and discussing
Yeah.
and having open forum, but also making sure that it's balanced with helpful information
Yeah.
and empowerment.
Yeah. The most common symptom of menopause is brain fog. That's the one that tends to be reported. And then the hot flushes, irritability.
I already have all 3 of those.
Yeah. So I thought it was interesting. So to talk about like, what are we doing to prepare? And that sounds so like, oh, you guys, you have no idea what's coming. And I understand like that you can prepare to an extent, but you don't know what your experience is going to be. So there's preparation and best practices, and then there's also accepting like there's some part of this I actually don't have control over, but
Mhm.
that's okay.
I think tied in with this is how are we also preparing for me, it's paired with am I preparing for old age also, beyond menopause.
Right. And they're somewhat, I guess they're related. Um, it's kind of funny. This guy commented on a post that we put up yesterday, and it was just a little compilation post of you and Lindsay doing high rocks things, and he basically said, if I may, I'm a lifelong athlete, and yada yada yada. Basically, like, be careful, listen to your body before it starts like screaming at you or something.
Insinuating that high level sports and training have a negative impact on the body over time.
Right. And it was just classic, like a person centering the conversation around their singular experience. I'm like, number one, you're a guy. I appreciate that that's I don't know anything about you.
Mhm.
And like, but what I can probably tell you is that you weren't a lifelong athlete. You were someone who like did random things, most likely. Um, there's a difference between training intelligently, which I think allows you to train for your lifetime, and then training unintelligently, which is what gets you hurt.
Yeah.
And sport is a very small part of that. Like the expression of your training at a very high level, that's not the daily.
Yeah.
And so then I said, we know a lot of people who are in their 60s, 70s, 80s. And like what I see is that the people who are having really negative experiences are the ones who didn't do enough of the physical things, the
Mhm.
training when they were younger. So like, I'm gonna keep doing this. You do you. I don't know anything about you, but like definitely don't presume, especially for women and where like bone loss and muscle loss is a huge concern with aging for a lot of reasons. You should be like, hell yeah, good for you guys. Like keep doing that. That's gonna be really helpful when you're older.
Yeah, like we know people who have had knee surgeries as a result of sports, injuries, deterioration of joints, and cartilage and ligaments as a result of high level sport.
Yeah.
Because you are pushing your body more than someone who is just training, and your risk for injury is higher. And you've probably been doing it since you were a kid.
Yeah.
But arguably, and I know a lot of these people in ski racing, like you said, even though they have, bad knees and can't run, are their knees that much worse than someone in their 60s, 70s, or 80s who've never trained before and have lived a very sedentary life?
Yeah.
Probably not. At least that athlete, an athlete, has kept moving and the rest of their joints are in really good shape, or they've managed their knees.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas somebody who continues to go down that sedentary path, everything else is getting worse. Their hips, their back, their neck, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So that's my argument. Of course, it will differ person to person.
Yeah.
But that's, like you said, what I see. I also saw this meme. I call everything a meme when I see a video on Instagram. But it was this woman, and it like bothered me, but it was also kind of true. And I think it just contributes to the confusion that a lot of us feel
Mm-hmm.
when trying to find the right path forward. And it was basically, all I keep hearing is the importance of strength training as women age. And I understand this, but here's the side of the story that no one's telling, and that's injuries. Like, I've been strength training for this long, and I have continually just felt like I'm injured, and that's causing my problems on it by itself. And so for me, I'm like, I get it. I get it that injuries are part of it, but you need to be really careful about that type of language, because it's going to create fear in women who are being told to strength train. And we see this all the time.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to go to the gym because, my back.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, I've got injured once doing deadlifts before, so I can't do deadlifts anymore.
Yeah.
And that is harmful.
Yeah. I mean, there's a difference between there's some risk associated with strength training and exercising and being active. Like you can't avoid it. But to me, there's a big difference between, having the occasional bout of patellar tendonitis or some niggly thing that just moves around your body because welcome, that's what exercise is. You'll just have like a kind of injury a lot. Um, there's a difference between that and falling when you're 75 years old after avoiding training because you don't want to injure yourself or deal with that, and ending up with a broken pelvis or hip because your bones are fragile. Like women, people, they don't survive that. Like a lot of people just don't come back from that. And I mean, 75, like you have there's a long life to live after that. Like that's not the end, but you could seriously impact your vitality if if you choose to not be as physically prepared for aging as you can. Yeah, so I agree with the language and the fear mongering around exercising, and I think that's what keeps a lot of people and women on these like really lightweight programs. They're like, oh, I don't want to hurt myself. I don't want to, you know, have any problems. Squatting that deep looks dangerous. Um, when it's one of the best things that you can do for your health. And you can start it when you're older. Like just because you're in your, 50s or 60s, that doesn't mean that you can't start a strength training program. 70s, like you can start wherever you're at and you'll get some benefit from it. And it may not be you may not be piling on the weight. Like for some people, resistance squats is just doing a squat into a chair and standing back up 8 to 12 times for multiple sets. Like that's the entry point, and that's okay. It's really just the practice of movement. I am in the Hit Play Not Pause Facebook group, which is Celine's Facebook group. It's a great one, but you see kind of like a snapshot at any moment of what the chatter is online and where the concern is. And someone posted the other day basically just having a panic over what kind of training to do because, apparently cardio is bad and we shouldn't be doing that, but we should be doing, hypertrophy or building strength. And there was all this sort of confusion about how does a person choose a program if if strength is the goal, but shouldn't we also be increasing muscle size? And that would be a hypertrophy program. And I commented and it's like, look, it's all the same if you're coming off the couch. Like you get, when you just start doing resistance training, you get both strength development and hypertrophy. Like the two deviate at a much higher level. And most programs include both. Like strength training doesn't mean piling on like tons and tons of weight. It means building strength through a functional range of motion. And the most important thing that a training program does, even if it's not perfectly aligned with whatever, quote, science someone is referencing, the most important part of any training program is that it builds the routine of training. Once you have the routine in place, you can do with that routine what you want. You can make it more specific if you feel like a more specific approach is necessary. But so many people are lost in the weeds on the specifics of the training program and they don't even have the routine built.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting. So in talking about what we're going to, do to mitigate or manage our experience or set ourselves up, I think like physical activity is at the core of it. And when I look at people who seem to not be struggling too much through it, they're all active. And so I looked up some research on that. So the kind of the most widely reported impacts that you'll hear people talk about are hot flashes, sleep disruption, and joint pain. Those are like the three. And then, the sleep disruption is really impactful because that just tends to snowball into other areas like eating patterns. There's data related to basically poor sleep quality and quantity and, weight gain over time. That's in all people, not just people in the menopause transition. So it's kind of easy to see, like, if that is a symptom and something that people deal with, it can have a real negative impact in these other areas that people then attribute to menopause, but maybe it's more related just to what happens when you don't sleep. Anyways, so I found this study, and it is a single study, but it's a really big one and a well put together one. They use the MRS scale, which is a menopause rating scale. So it is a questionnaire essentially that asks people to rate symptoms from none to very severe. So none, mild, moderate, severe, very severe. And there's 11 different symptoms. So there's hot flushes or sweating, so like episodes of sweating, heart discomfort, sleep problems, depressive mood, irritability, anxiety, exhaustion, sexual problems, bladder problems, vaginal dryness, and joint and muscular discomfort. So basically you self-rate on that scale, and it's widely used kind of across, the medical field. And so people filled that out, and then they were essentially split into two groups. So an intervention group and a control group, and the intervention group was one that did not only physical activity daily, but physical activity in like neighborhood network subgroups is what they call it. So it's physical activity in a community, which I think is kind of unique to this study. And so they basically looked at the intervention group showed a significant reduction in the frequency and severity of menopause symptoms. And this is p-value less than 0.001. So we're looking like fairly high level of statistical significance. So it looked at those people who rated their symptoms very severe for hot flashes. Hot flushes were reduced from 30.1% to 11.8%. So that's like a huge reduction. Participants who reported sleep problems and joint discomfort at severe or very severe declined from 28% to 6.5%. So another like pretty massive reduction. And then this one's crazy. So joint discomfort rated severe or very severe was reduced from 52.7% to 4.4%.
There are a lot of estrogen receptors in our joint, which explains why when estrogen drops, they're like our joints are impacted. So how does exercise improve that? Just blood flow, like motion is lotion, that sort of thing?
Yeah, I mean, so if you're looking at estrogen receptors, there's estrogen receptors all over the body, but in joint tissues, there are estrogen receptors in cartilage, in bone, in synovium, so like synovial fluid, in ligaments. But there's also a lot of other things that contribute to the health of those tissues, not just estrogen. So it's like, yeah, estrogen can have a negative impact, but movement can have a positive impact that counteracts and exceeds the negative impact of a reduction in estrogen.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you see an increase in synovial fluid when you move a joint through a range of motion with some amount of repetition. When you load it, you see an increase in bone health when you load bones, which we also know. Like there's a lot of contributing factors that aren't directly related to hormones. So it's kind of, yeah. And again, like how do you decouple the impact? How can you say with some level of certainty that estrogen is the mechanism for the joint pain and not the fact that the joint is not being used?
Yeah. That
So
makes sense.
You look at the non-intervention group in that same study, so people who just were the control, they didn't do physical activity. Everything, so hot flushes, sleep problems, and joint problems got significantly worse over time. So you don't see a control, like you don't see those things stay the same. You see those things continue to decline. So, and this isn't physical activity that is like one specific kind of activity.
Is it a menopause specific program?
It was, in this case, that's the group that they were looking at. Oh, you mean,
it's a joke.
Okay. You're making I see what you did
Were
there.
they specific perimenopause squats?
They were it's like a curtsy squat.
Yeah, it's only for people in menopause.
Yeah.
In perimenopause. You're never really in menopause. Menopause is one day. It's perimenopause, and then postmenopause. One day is menopause. So that's just some clarifying language.
That's so helpful.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so the conclusion they come to essentially is increasing awareness of the benefits of physical activity in combination with community networks. So existing networks in neighborhoods or gym communities that facilitate social bonding, communication, and cooperation and adherence to a physical activity plan over time, and how that can decrease menopause symptoms may be a huge um, factor in women managing menopause symptoms, especially like it's a like low cost. Like if you don't have to have a crazy expensive program or gym membership to just do something every day. And so that's kind of the angle that they're looking at here, which I really appreciate, because we know people across sports and training modalities, they're all doing different things, but they seem to be managing okay. And so there's some anecdotal evidence of people in our life who that indicate it's not necessarily what you do, it's the overall baseline practice. And so my commitment, really from an aging standpoint, and that will hopefully have a positive impact through this particular phase of aging, is just to retain um, a practice of movement and strength training and being active, both in the gym by myself and with communities.
Yeah. I know this isn't about me because it's not my birthday, but for me, going down a more endurance focused path,
Mhm.
I have more than ever put a focus on strength training
Mhm.
for this specific reason. And I see it anecdotally on a very acute basis. Sometimes when I start squatting and I first put load on my back, the first few squats hurt my knees a lot.
Yeah.
But then after I do a couple of warm up sets, my knees feel totally fine.
Yeah.
And so it happens very quickly. Like once you just move through that range of motion a few times, your joints can feel better. So I can only imagine what impact that's having over time. Just doing those movements 3 times a week for me now.
Yeah.
Even though I know that the amount that I'm lifting to maintain the amount of muscle mass I have now is probably to a degree impacting my ability to progress in certain sports like running.
Yeah.
Having upper body mass does not make you a faster runner, but it's going to make me a faster runner when I'm 60. It's
Yeah.
going to allow me to be able to run when I'm 60.
Or just be vital and have a strong and full range of motion available to you.
Totally.
Yeah. Be able to spin your arms around in a whole circle with your
Yeah.
elbows straight
Yeah.
at any age.
And there might be people who have exercised for their whole life or been active and still struggle with certain things, like my mom.
Yeah.
But who knows what shape she would be in if not for all of that activity.
Yeah. It's interesting, and we can bring in the diet side of things too, which um, there certainly is a dietary component to aging and doing that well. And I think, yeah, it is, I would say, highly related to protein intake, but that doesn't mean you need to be eating like 200 grams of protein a day. Like there was another comment on that Facebook group about these women sort of just lamenting how hard it is to get in the protein that she thinks she needs to have, and she can't get over 100 grams no matter what she does. And I was like, I don't know, 100 grams is probably okay. Like, certainly if it's more than what you were having before, which I think it was, it's really easy to look at what you're not doing and feel some kind of way about that, especially when, everyone and their dog is saying you need to eat more protein, eat more protein, eat more protein. I'm like, yeah, but more protein, there's some intermediate steps there. If you're eating on average like 60 grams of protein a day, 100 grams is almost double what you were eating. That's really good. Even if you do want to eventually get up to 140 grams or whatever the end goal might be, maybe take it day by day and don't, let the big number feel so daunting. But
Yeah, more is a tricky word.
it's just like it's enough. It's like a
Yes.
cone that keeps getting kicked down the road.
And it's everything. It's career, it's being a parent. I just feel guilty that I'm not doing more. You hear that so much in one-on-one work. And it's refreshing when someone says, I feel like I'm doing enough.
Yeah. I'm happy with what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm proud that I've been able to make these changes, even though I'm not quite where I want to be yet.
Yeah. Or maybe you redefine what more is and you actually have a definition so that it's not just this moving goalpost.
Yeah. And I think these sort of vague ways of using language and seeing, problems contribute to the continued experience of problems.
Yes.
Um, Yeah. So, I mean, what does the research say on diet? It says exactly what you would expect it to say, like balanced nutrition, eating enough protein, you know, around what is it? zero point 0.6 grams per kilogram ish.
Wait, wait. 0.6 grams per kilo or per pound? No, that's super low. So if I weigh like 60 kilos,
Yeah. Oh, 1.6.
yeah, that would make more sense.
Okay. 1.6. That's where we're at. Sorry about that. My
I was
bad.
like, I'm crushing it enough. I'm like,
I am eating so much protein. Yeah, like 1.6 grams per
I
kilo.
don't know what research you're reading, but I like it. More carbs for me.
Yeah, plant-based, so like a plant-forward diet,
Get those micros in.
normal amount of like normal eating frequency, no fasting, lots of poly and mono unsaturated fats. Try to control
So like the
saturated.
basics.
Yeah, and there
What
are
about
some
carb cycling? Just
I
kidding.
just never carb cycling. There's some interesting but a fairly like small body of research on like specific foods, like soy products may reduce the frequency or severity of certain menopause related symptoms. There's, why that is. Phytoestrogen compounds are in soy. It could be related to that. But again,
Remember
like
when everyone was scared to eat soy?
because they were
Like,
worried about
wouldn't eat edamame?
yeah. I'm like, what? You guys don't know anything. How much edamame would you have to eat
Oh
for
my
like,
God.
estrogen
It
to
would
become a
be
problem?
insane.
Yeah. Anyways, most of the really niche stuff and dietary supplements are fairly low quality study coming from that. And like the dosing and preparation and potential safety concerns of going on, a giant dose of black cohosh or St. John's wort. There's not enough benefit, I think, to like really be like pushing those on people. But there's like an intersection. It's interesting how like this is just a confluence of it's like the same information from different angles. So, okay, let's pause for a second. Blue zones were like a big topic a couple months ago. Like, sort of like all of a sudden people are talking about blue zones. Like, I wrote an article on blue zones like years ago. But blue zones are like the 5 areas in the world where there's like a very high concentration of people over the age of 100. And so they're often kind of researched and studied because, like, what leads to that type of longevity. And there's a couple of contributing factors. Like, they're highly like community sort of oriented places. They are places where people are very, very active during the day. So they're not sedentary, just as like a general rule of thumb. They're moving around, they're moving through ranges of motion. They're eating a very plant-based diet, not like all plant-based, not vegetarian, but like lots and lots of plants and a variety of plants. And they sleep and wake with the sun. So like they sort of allow for a very natural circadian rhythm to occur, and so they don't report a lot of um yeah, sleep disruptions. And it's interesting how that there's something else I can't remember, like a fifth one, but anyways, it's interesting how the advice or the research coming out of blue zone research is the same sort of information but in a very different package.
Like, sleep is an interesting one. I was just thinking about how when sleep is disrupted, and this is one thing that I'm doing and have always tried to do, not necessarily to prepare for perimenopause or the menopause transition, but just to like support my life right now, is habits, and specifically habits around sleep. Because what you often see are people who say, and this is any person, oh, well, my sleep is not good. And then you have people who are in the perimenopause phase and they're saying, yeah, my sleep isn't good because of menopause. Well, what these people are often doing aren't practicing good sleep hygiene.
Yeah.
So they never go outside. And that can have a huge impact on sleep.
Yeah.
Because we're like organisms that are in rhythm with the sun, the way when the sun rises and when the sun sets.
Mm-hmm.
And if you never expose your eyes to natural light, your circadian rhythm is going to be all effed up.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. Never going outside, that's even apart from physical activity. Then they're on their screens
Yeah.
into the late hours of the night, and primarily in the late hours of the night. And then they're sleeping. I mean, kids, you can only do so much, but like that's obviously an impact. You have somebody waking you up in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
And then just having like a quiet, dark, and cool room. A lot of people's sleep setups aren't great. But I would say that um, it is it is a bit of a victim mentality where like, oh, well, my sleep is messed up because of my hormones.
Yeah.
Okay, but what can you do here? Also, don't go to bed at 12 o'clock in
Right.
the middle of the night. Go to bed earlier.
Yeah.
Allow yourself time to be in bed.
Yeah. And I think it's important to bring up the routine and the habit side of things, because I remember having this conversation with Celine as well, which is like there's not a specific diet that is necessarily the best, but having some level of control over the things that you can control. So eating in a really routine way around the same times every day and like in a, roughly similar sort of macronutrient breakdown. Um, Controlling that, in addition to controlling or setting your sleep up and consistently, following a sleep routine, having good sleep hygiene in place, doing your best to sleep at normal times of the day, having those things in place, it allows you to understand what the hormonal contribution actually is. Because, we've talked to so many people about, the impact of not eating and how their lives changed when they started eating like just a really big breakfast. And they're like, I thought it was hormones, but I didn't realize that I was just really, really hungry and like underfueled.
A lot of men also have menopause symptoms,
Menopause.
but it's not from hormones.
Yeah.
It's from lifestyle.
Well, they can, yeah, I mean, men can experience a decline in testosterone production, but it is a bit more interconnected.
Yeah.
Then,
But my point is it's, and I don't want to qualify everything, but I don't want to negate the experience.
yeah.
But people who aren't in menopause, who are living similar lifestyles to people in menopause, are experiencing the same issues with sleep, energy,
Right.
fat gain, performance in workouts, brain fog, because their lifestyle and their habits are poor.
Yeah.
But what happens is when people get to this phase of life, they blame it on the hormones, and it is disempowering. Wait, you could be doing so much more to improve this stuff.
Right.
Potentially.
Yeah, and I do think staying curious to the things that you do have control over really matters, because it does sort of break you out of that, the victim complex where, this is just happening. I have no control over it. I just have to ride the wave of these hormonal impacts where you may not be able to alleviate menopause related symptoms to 100% not going to have them, but you can get a real good understanding of what they actually are by developing good routines, good habits, and being willing to own that part of it and say this is sort of my doing. This hormone stuff is not my doing. That's natural. That's going to occur no matter what. But I still can do a lot of things and control a lot of things that may help, at least with some amount of predictability, like day to day, and go from there. I think it's being willing to accept what you can't control, but also, not saying none of that is my responsibility because I can't control it.
Yeah.
Because there are still things that can be controlled to a degree.
And putting a lot of these habits and lifestyle patterns in place before things get a little bit harder is worthwhile.
Yeah.
It's like practicing stress management before you're under a significant amount of stress.
Right.
Like having ways where you're relaxing and calming down, and the tools that people use, people who are more mindful, it allows them, and we see this all the time, and with nutrition and stuff, when they have good practices, they can go into really difficult scenarios and come out the other end and say, whoa, it's a good thing that I had all this stuff really solid.
Yeah.
Because if not, I would have been a complete wreck.
Yes.
And that's, thankfully to a lot of these women who are leading the charge and speaking up about the symptoms and the struggles and putting out more knowledge and information, it's allowing people like us in their 30s to say, all right, like there are a lot of things that I can be doing right now
Mhm.
to improve my life right now, but also to set myself up for later.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, you might hear that and say, well, that's really nice to hear, but that's not my situation.
Yeah.
So where do I begin? And I can answer that question from through a personal lens, because I think about when does my life feel the most chaotic and out of control? And it tends to happen after like several days of not sleeping. That's when, and it just, I'm not even always aware that that's what's going on until like after shit has really blown up.
Like yesterday.
Like yesterday. Um, I become less resilient. I become a little bit more volatile. I become more of a slave to my emotions and what I'm feeling in a moment versus uh remaining logical. And I don't judge myself for that. I just know that. So okay. I ask what do I do in those moments when things I'm just like, oh, everything's bad. I just hate myself. I just think I have autism and feel like I'm getting worse and I don't even know why you like to be with me and that kind of thing.
This is not an exaggeration.
Okay, but I do think that I might have a little autism.
Everyone already knows that, Meredith. It's kind of like, hey guys, I think I'm gay. Yeah, we know.
Yeah, okay. Okay. So that tends to happen for me after several nights of not sleeping well. So my re-entry into the normal world occurs. Like the thing that I absolutely have to do is get the hell away from a screen. Like step one. Aside from that, is sleep. I have to get back on top of sleep. And so,
And it's not just, oh, I'll try to get to bed earlier or I'll try to have a better sleep or I hope it gets better. It's you move into a different bedroom to ensure that I'm not keeping you awake, the animals aren't keeping you awake. You allow for a cooler environment. You go to bed at a reasonable time. You pull your book out.
yeah.
You do all of these things. It's not just, oh, I hope I sleep better.
Right. So I do things that when I'm in the bed with you, I don't do. So, well, number one, I'm so sensitive to temperature when I sleep. I'm a hot person, just baseline. And I grew up with air conditioning at all times. And so I find this time of year to be really challenging because we don't have air conditioning. And that seems to be fine with you. And I just get to a
I
point.
like it. I like the warmth.
No.
I'm cold all winter. I embrace the summer months.
Yeah. I actually Googled how this is a big issue in relationships. The like temperature air conditioning battle. Anyways, that's we'll talk about that offline.
Great. Can't wait.
But we'll run the air conditioner at night, like during the day. We have a little window unit. And so that'll run and it'll be okay in the bedroom. And then it goes off and then it just slowly heats up. And so I wake up. And then what happens is I get really self conscious about moving and being awake. And then I have like an anxiety related hot flash, not menopause related, just sort of, one of those like, sort of, I'm anxious. And then I lie awake and I'm stressed out and then I don't sleep. And so the last couple nights, I just got up and I moved to the couch in our like TV room because the guest bed wasn't made up. And I kind of slept in there, but it's hard. That's not like the greatest sleeping couch. And I have to really like wedge myself in the corner.
You know what's crazy? I just need to, sorry to interrupt. The things that we will do to avoid 10 minutes of discomfort. Like you're willing to sleep on a couch for 5 to 8 hours in discomfort rather than spend 10 to 15 minutes making up the bed that night.
I didn't know that there were extra sheets for it. It was not made up. And like I thought the only sheets for it were in the wash. And I'm not gonna go fumble through the sheet closet while you're trying to sleep. It's right next to the bedroom.
I feel like you could have at least laid like a blanket down.
Anyways,
instead.
Whatever.
Sorry.
So 2 nights on the couch, didn't sleep super well. So last night, I'm like, okay, I have to get some sleep, otherwise I'm not gonna make it. So yeah, made up the bed. I like opened the window for most of the night, so it was cool in there. I I don't like sleeping in earplugs unless I absolutely have to, but I sleep with them when we sleep together because number one, there's animals around, and also like you wake me up. So earplugs out, brown noise on my phone all the way up, which I don't do when you're around. So I basically just
Sounds like we should just get separate bedrooms.
take control of my sleep environment in a way that I don't always need to do, but I definitely need to do it when I need to get sleep. Off my screen, on the book, trying to calm down, and I got a great sleep. And I'm feeling better. And so sleep for me, good sleep follows good sleep, but also it makes me more efficient at work. It makes it more likely that I'm going to exercise with the intensity that I want to do. It makes it less likely that I'm going to skip a gym workout because I'm tired. Um, it makes eating easier. Like my appetite gets back to normal. So for me, it's fix the sleep and then probably get on a routine with eating, go outside, and then exercise kind of comes third. The interesting thing about sleep and exercise, like they're interconnected. And so it's like exercise tends to help sleep, which obviously that research we talked about earlier, there's a huge correlation there because people who exercise experience fewer symptoms related to disrupted sleep. But it's very hard to exercise when you aren't sleeping well. So there's this kind of like bi-directional relationship. So for my logical brain, it's like, I'm not going to exercise. I'm not going to do a shitty workout just to help my sleep. Like, I know that for me personally, the thing that's interrupting my sleep is not related to exercise. It's something else. So for me to get in the exercise that I want, I address the sleep first, and then I get back into my usual exercise routine.
Okay, but there are people out there who can't sleep. They can't just go into a different bedroom and have a great night's sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So, in that case, and there's research to back this up, if you are struggling with sleep on a chronic basis, meaning more than a couple of nights, it is better to exercise.
Yeah.
If it's a one-off, like I'll have a client that will say, I didn't sleep well last night and I decided to sleep in and miss my workout because I knew I was going to be tired and could use the extra hour or just knew that it was going to be a good workout. Is that okay? The answer there is yes.
Yeah.
But if you're chronically not sleeping for whatever reason, maybe it's kids, maybe it's hormones, or maybe you just can't, you're not a good sleeper, not exercising chronically just makes everything worse.
Yeah. And so maybe for that person, exercise is the right entry point.
Yeah. So then you go to what you can control. And if it's not sleep, it is exercise. It's not using the fact that you didn't sleep as an excuse to go through a fast food drive-through for dinner 5 nights in a row. Like even when you don't sleep, even when you are on the cusp of having a meltdown, you still eat breakfast.
Yeah.
You're not just drinking coffee all day long. You have water. You get in some movement. You try to do the things that make you feel grounded, even if in those moments it's harder, but they're so built in that it does negate a little bit of the impact of not sleeping.
Yeah.
Do we still get in a fight? Most likely.
Did you see yesterday, like just I was like mid meltdown and I had made you a coffee and I walked over and I was like making myself one and the espresso machine ran out of water, maybe like 3/4 of the way through my shot. And I was like, bucket. I just like shut the lever off, grabbed the shot. I'd never drink just plain espresso.
Oh no! Why?
And just like
okay, never
took
mind.
it.
You don't do the right things.
Yeah. Look, mid meltdown is not the right time to come at me about caffeine. But okay, yeah, that's all assuming that there's also good sleep hygiene in place because I don't think that exercise replaces the need for good sleep hygiene. I think multiple things can be worked on at once.
And there are other sleep practices that you can do if you need to dig a little bit deeper. Like, okay, maybe going to bed at 9 p.m. and shutting all the lights off and closing your door and having the exact right temperature and it being dark doesn't help. But there are ways to retrain your body to sleep. And I'm not a sleep expert, but for example, there are ways, there are strategies for when you are in bed for a certain amount of time not sleeping. You shouldn't just grab your phone and start scrolling.
Right.
You should actually, some people have recommended to get out of bed so that you're not reinforcing being in bed, not sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
Go and do something for a certain set period of time somewhere else.
Yeah.
Maybe a reading room, and then you try to go back to sleep. And then you have strategies to try to go back to sleep, but you're not just in bed not sleeping, which can perpetuate the problem.
Right.
And like if you are this person and you want to try some, find a sleep expert. But this is just something that I've heard people do when they really, really need to address a problem with sleep. And also, if you're somebody who isn't sleeping chronically, there might be something else that you can address in your life that can improve sleep. And that, again, could be a problem that a doctor can help solve, or a sleep expert.
Right.
But it's like, it could be REDS. It could be your lifestyle. It could be just you have so much stress in your life right now
Yeah.
that can be managed.
Yeah. Or there might be it could be a thyroid condition.
Yep.
Like there are a lot of things that I think can be chalked up to menopause, and it might be something else. Like you might be missing a diagnosis on something that's more significant, just because it's like, oh, it's just menopause, I don't sleep, or oh, it's just menopause, I notice my heartbeat.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the continued effort is on the big rocks, focusing on controlling those, keeping good practices in place, and trusting that future me will be okay when we get there. And maybe we'll be in the 15%. Who knows? I do think that there's a correlation. There is actually, because I looked this up. People who don't have kids tend to experience lower severity symptoms of menopause.
I mean, it makes sense.
But again, I don't think that that's because anything magic happens when you have kids. I just think that being a parent is like a
It's your
co-condition.
lifestyle.
Yeah. That contributes significantly to anxiety and stress.
Yeah, and it's your sleep.
Yeah. So that's it. That's all we got. Happy birthday to me.
Happy birthday.
Thank you very much. You want to leave people with anything? Do you want to sing? You want to sing me happy birthday?
No.
No? That's right. You already did it when you gave me my 8-layer cake.
I did.
You had and you
With
remember you
all
brought
37 candles.
and the quartet you brought in? It was
Yeah.
just
Oh my goodness.
amazing.
Yeah, that was crazy.
I don't even know how you found a string quartet in Fernie, to be honest.
They flew in. I flew them in.
From New York?
Yeah.
Those are the people from New York? Wow. I didn't realize we had that kind of budget. It's amazing. I really
Yeah.
appreciate. You know how I like strings.
I dipped into your 40th birthday party plan budget for
You
your
did
37th.
not.
But don't worry, we'll replenish it.
I trust that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, thank you for listening. If you've made it this far, thank you, Alex, for being here once again. You're my favorite guest.
You're my favorite guest.
How about that? I love that for both of us. All right. We will catch you on the next episode.